Everyone, welcome back. Game to Love podcast. But this week, we're in quarantine and we've got a special guest on the podcast this week. Me and JG. It's Stephen from the Slice Tennis.
All the way from Canada.
All the way from Canada. 7 hours back in time.
That's right.
How's it
Good
going,
to be
mate?
with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
No worries, man.
Yeah.
How are you coping over there in Canada during this quarantine?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it sucks. I think for everyone being stuck inside. I don't think we're as bad as it is in Europe right now, or different parts of Europe. Like in the West Coast where I live, we're not on total lockdown yet. But most businesses are closed, and like people are definitely encouraged to stay inside. So yeah, get lots of free time on my hands.
Wow. So lots of content that we've got to make, to keep all these viewers happy as well, which is that's the main thing.
Yeah, we've been trying, haven't we, Ben? We've been getting a few out on the Skype, but it's just like thinking of topics to talk about. Like at the end of the day, you watch the TV at the moment, it's everything coronavirus, and to come on here and talk more about coronavirus, it just becomes a bit repetitive. But I guess there's not really much else to talk about right now.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah, I know it's literally all that's going around. Like I don't know what's big. I haven't been watching big like sports channels, but I don't know what they're gonna like. What are they talking about?
No, the big
sports
question.
Channels, the bookies, everything's just struggling right now, and it's just an unprecedented event. What's happened, and people really don't know what to do.
Totally, yeah.
The big question on everyone's lips is, how much toilet roll have you got left?
Actually, I think I currently got about 5 or 6 rolls, so I'm actually getting pretty low.
But is that quite a big thing out over there in Canada? Because I feel like it's more or less it's more of a UK thing, right?
Well, or is the thing here too. Yeah, everyone went and just hammered the stores, which is like ridiculous. Because in where I live, like in Canada, like one of our main exports is like lumber, like trees, and so we have like all these toilet paper manufacturing plants like really close to where we live. So we're never gonna run out. But it's like people are still just panic.
Yeah, it's mental over here as well. Like literally. Can't even find an egg in any supermarket you want to go and find one in. No ketchup, no baked beans, there's
pasta.
Pasta. Anything in a tin, it's disappeared, mate.
Yeah, people are going like full on like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I don't know. That's crazy. It's like seems like the apocalypse, but I don't think it is.
No, I put up a picture of what it looks like in the shop when I went shopping. I think it was a few days ago, and then literally you look at the tin dial and just decimated. It's just crazy. Don't know what's happened to people.
Yeah, did your girlfriend burn your clothes after you when you come back?
Yeah, everybody's having to like shower as soon as they come in from the supermarket, mate.
Yeah, actually, that's what I do basically whenever I leave the house. Almost, it's like it's like trying to not touch your face is one of the hardest things. But yeah.
I went out last night and I looked like I was in some sort of London grime rap video. I had like a mask on, hood up, like cap on. Like just going shopping in the supermarket.
Yeah, that's mental, man. So yeah.
What can you do? But yeah, this is the time we're living in right now, and hopefully it doesn't last forever. And
hopefully not. So I don't know. I forget what day the ATP's like postponed until sometime in June. That's when their kind of like idea is when they're gonna come back. But the French Open already moved, right?
Yeah.
I've heard
so the French Open got moved to September, but the way it's looking at the moment, I'm just unsure how they're going to fit everything in, because obviously you've got the US Open final 6 days prior to what the French Open is going to be held, and then you've got the Laver Cup in this place of where the French Open's now been moved to.
I know. I'm actually standing in solidarity with the Laver Cup right now. Laver Cup strong because the French Open, they just don't ask anyone, they just move. Classic, classic French guys just taking over. I'm just kidding to all the French viewers, but it was funny after they moved, like the Laver Cup came out, and then like the rest of the kind of the tennis committees came out and they said, look, we're gonna work together on scheduling, we're gonna consult everyone, and it was like a total jab at the French Open, like what they currently they just moved and didn't ask
but
anyone.
I think it needs to happen, because at the moment I feel like it's very divided, the tennis community, in terms of like the ATP, WTA, the tennis organizers, the players. There seems to be not very much of a unity between them all. Like players aren't finding out about these cancellations of tournaments until they log on to their Twitter account. So And I feel like there's much more being done for it to be communicated sort of across the board. And that involves obviously the sponsors and organisers and everything really. But when you say tennis is going to be coming back in June, do you actually feel like it's going to happen or?
Well, no, I was just saying I think that's their current plan, but I don't know. I feel like I don't know how bad it is in. I know I see the stats about Italy and stuff like that. There's like no way that the Rome tournament would be happening, and like, so then I don't know. Like I feel like it could. I don't think anyone really knows how quickly this is going to get done with, like get over. So I feel like they should start. I hope that they would start playing tournaments with no fans in the crowd, like as soon as possible. Just because like. Yeah, I feel like you can do that safely. Like you can screen all the players, like they'll know, and it's not like the players are going to be the at-risk population anyways. So I don't know. I'm not a pandemic expert though, so who freaking knows?
Exactly. I think we've got the problem. Obviously, the next Grand Slam, which is up in the calendar, Wimbledon, and it's the one that me and Jaron were supposed to be. It was on the horizon. We were going to be going to Wimbledon, and we were going to be vlogging there. This was going to be the tournament for us. Like,
was it?
Yeah, we were really looking forward to this.
We went last year as well. We had a great time. It's an amazing tournament. The way it's run, the whole day. Yeah. You could say queuing from 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning is quite boring, but when you've got a few beers, the sun's starting to come through. There's good vibes. You're in a queue of people, full of people who love tennis. You can talk to people. Yeah, it's just amazing, man. It's one of the best times ever.
You should have said because Jaron had never been like before, but I'd been a few times. But he was like a kid in a sweet shop when I took him through those gates into Wimbledon. I've never seen someone so happy in all my life. They're like we got onto the court, and we got onto I think it was court 18 just to watch. Big Steve Johnson versus Alex de Minaur, and quality match. In like
right there,
35 degrees.
So, like, I haven't been to anything like Wimbledon. Is like it's like the apex of tennis, and I have some good friends from London actually, and they say that it's like, isn't it like, don't you have to like join like a queue just to get tickets? Even
yeah. So we didn't have no tickets, so it's a case of we queued up early from about 5 o'clock in the morning, I think, or maybe a bit later. We just queued up. We have a map. You get a queue card. So you stand in the queue, you get your queue card. We was like, what number was we in the queue, Ben?
We were quite early. I think we were like was it 2,000 or was it? Yeah, I think it was 2,300 or something. And that was at 5 a.m.
Yeah, so imagine what people thought were.
But bear in mind, people camp overnight for the day after that because they want to get centre court tickets. So they camp over a day in advance so that they can get priority for centre court tickets. Right. So, but it's such a well-oiled machine that I don't know. You've never seen queuing work so well. And I'm British. That's what we're best at. We love a queue.
The British will find a queue. They love a queue anyway. So to have Wimbledon and all that's organised well, and they're in their element. The Brits.
Yeah. Once you've got, man. They're good at organizing things and taking over and setting up rules somehow.
Yeah. Normally, we're best at inventing something and then becoming the worst at it. That's what we're normally good at. Invent football, become worst at it. Like, I don't know what other sports. We just invent cricket, become terrible at that normally.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Tennis? Wasn't tennis started in England? I'm pretty sure it was.
It was as well, but this is what I mean. Every sport seems to originate there, and then we'd have no one to really follow.
Well, mind you, so like the first guy I ever interviewed as like a pro player is Dan Evans, who's like an absolute legend. Like he's like arguably my favorite player on tour. And he's from England. So he's like your top guy now, but it's not exactly a top guy on the tour, but he is like, I think it's sweet. And then when Andy Murray was crushing it, like obviously that must have been insane for English fans, hey?
Yeah, even though he wasn't English, it was still good he was known as British whilst he was playing.
Right.
From Scotland. But then as soon as he lost, I think he was known as Scottish, which was terrible.
Yeah, it's true, man.
He used to give a lot of crap to the English fans, like the English football fans. He used to, every time England football team would play a match, he would support the other team and be wearing their shirt. And he
really?
to give him a lot of stick and say, do you know all the people who come and watch you at Wimbledon are all English? There's probably 1% Scottish that are coming to watch you. So...
Yeah. I've never been the biggest fan of Andy Murray in general at all. Like, just him, like, playing on court, like, he always just looked like the biggest baby. And, like, I mean, I think he's actually a funny guy. But a lot of his, like, kind of hot takes are just, like, he seems, like, pretty politically charged. And then he's like, yeah, he, like, wants to be the English guy, but he's actually Scottish. But Dan Evans, he's proper English, right?
Yeah. Dan Evans is a good one. I'm glad you mentioned him, actually, because he is a top player, and I feel like he does have a lot of potential. Like, recently, it seems like an eternity ago, but the last tournament he played, like the game he played against, the match he played against, I think it was Fognini. It was incredible. He played really amazing tennis. Yeah. And he went quite deep into the tournament, didn't he?
I think that was Dubai you're talking about, right?
Yeah, Dubai, yeah.
Yeah, he made it to the quarters or the semis. I can't remember.
Semis, I think, against Tsitsipas.
No.
Oh, that's right.
Actually unreal with him because he obviously got that suspension, right?
Yeah.
And then, so I interviewed him like right as he was coming back from that in Vancouver here. Like he had to qualify. I think he got like a wild card or he qualified into a challenger, and then he ended up winning that challenger. And he was talking. And we talked. He was ranked like probably like 600 in the world. And he's just like, yeah, my goal is to get to like the Australian Open qualifying, just to get into the qualifying tournament. And then he qualified. So this would have been Australian Open 2019. He qualified and then made it to the second round of the main draw and played Federer. And then he like just kept crushing it from there. Now he's like 29 in the world, which is his highest ever. So it's a really cool story.
I think it's crazy, isn't it? I think he's just I think I quite like him because he's sort of comes across as, I don't know, I've always seen him. I don't know if you even follow snooker, but he makes me think of the Ronnie O'Sullivan of the tennis world for some reason. I don't know if you know.
Sullivan, is he like the darts player?
No, he's a snooker player.
Snooker.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's just like the sort of bad boy of snooker. Like, doesn't really like care about like all the rules and stuff like that. He just like gets on there, smashes it about, and beats everybody, and just like does it in a funny way. And you can tell Dan Evans seems like he's a bit of a cool customer. Like on court, like he just doesn't take himself too seriously, but he's an amazing tennis player, though. That's like,
I want to add to that as well. Like with him, like typically British players can be sort of deemed on court to be a bit boring. I don't want to single people out, but Carl Edmund, I watch his games, brilliant player. Doesn't excite me. I can watch his matches. It doesn't have that wow factor. With Dan Evans, the thing what he has is he's a very exciting player. Like if he was if he had a different surname, mate, you'd think, wow, this guy is amazing. Evans is a bit like a generic name, but this guy, the way he plays is very exciting.
Yeah, like, and you're right about Kyle Edmund. Like, he literally has the personality of like a potato. Like, I saw an interview with him, and I was like, this guy looks like he's asleep. Like, I don't even know.
I probably watched the same interview, mate. Like, watching him is just like watching paint dry. I can't do it.
I couldn't never do it.
When we were at Wimbledon last year, my mate, he queued up the day before, but then he had centre court tickets as well. Like he managed to exchange, like his old man was in centre court, and he came out and he's like, I went in and he watched the Edmund match. He said he left after like a set and a half. He said he won in straight sets, but it was like there was no atmosphere. This is Wimbledon we're talking about. You're British. Like, the ship's like everything's coming to life. Like the whole Wimbledon comes to life if you bring it to life. But I think he just doesn't have that little, like, there's no flame there. There's nothing, like, he needs to do something.
Like, you can see it in his game, like the way he plays. Don't get me wrong, he's a very powerful player. He gets it very deep on the baseline. He's got some brilliant shots, but it's just very much there's missing that extra level of like flair and something exciting. Do you know what gets you off your feet?
Obviously,
I feel like Dan Evans has that.
Yeah, like you have to have like a little bit of, not anger, but that Dan Evans has that. You can tell he's pissed off half the time when he's on the court, and then like someone in the crowd says something, he'll just go over and be like, "Shut up," or like he'll just be speaking to people, like he says what's on his mind. Whereas Edmund just very contained. Like, I don't know if that's not how you get the British fans on side though. You have to be a bit more boisterous to get the British.
No, it makes sense. Or at least like I feel like even the way Edmund plays, like he seems like I haven't watched him too much, but he did really well at I think the Australian Open 2019, right? Like he made it to like the quarters or something, or maybe the year before. But he kind of seems to, like, when I watched him recently, just to be like he like seems like unfocused on what on what he's doing. He just seems to be happy rallying from the baseline, which is like all these young players love to just rally from the baseline endlessly, but you're not really gonna make it deep. Like Djokovic and Murray kind of get that idea of like all they do is rally, but it's not really true. Like when they're playing someone who's not as good as them, they like switch up their game plan. So if Djokovic is playing Federer, he's not gonna out hit Federer as far as like power. Federer's more powerful, so he switches and he just goes to like counter punching and like defensive play, but he's not always defensive. Like when he's playing a guy like who's like I don't know, like Nishioka, who's not going to hit as big as Djokovic, he like slaps him off the court, and he'll come forward when he has to try and shorten points. Like, but I think a lot of these young guys just get stuck at like I'm just going to blast forehands from the back of the court and just win. But everyone can do that, so you got to like separate yourself somehow. I feel like Edmund hasn't been able to do that yet.
I think that's a brilliant point. Like you say, Edmund seems to be just one. He's got the one game plan. He hits his rallies on the baseline, and after that, if that's not working for him, he's not getting the points. People aren't making unforced errors. He kind of gets unstuck. Like with Djokovic, people would say he does similar stuff in terms of the way he plays. But it's for Djokovic at any one moment he can turn it on, he can switch it off, he can change his game plan, he can adapt. Like we've seen it most recently in the Australian Open final against Team. Team was all over him, and he was able to find a different game plan, find a different gear, adapt his game. And like you say, it's a sign of a true champion. Like obviously, comparing Edmund and Djokovic, maybe it's not really the right comparison. But
I think comparing Murray to Djokovic they were sort of like level pegging at one point in their careers, and it was a little bit sad for obviously the British fans just to see how many finals did he lose to Djokovic. It was 5 finals, was it? Yeah. I mean, and I just think he was so close to the same level as he could have taken that upward trajectory. If maybe injuries, maybe just that sort of natural skill level. He had a very similar game to Djokovic. He had the workmanship. He had just like the variety of his shots. Like he had like so much variety. Like that's the thing that Djokovic is best at, changing his game. Murray was the same. I know he loved it. Like I think Murray not so aggressive though. That was his negative side. He was too much percentage tennis.
I think he did too much percentage tennis to really get past the big guys. Like Djokovic, when he was younger, he hit big. Like he could hit big. Like they can all hit big. So, but he would play the points to like win them. And I feel like Murray a lot of times would just play them to not lose. And when Murray plays like Nadal or Federer, they're just not going to beat themselves like against Murray. And so when I was a Federer fan, I was like, I'm still a Federer fan, but like growing up, like when he played Murray in the 2012 final in Wimbledon.
Yeah.
You remember Federer played Murray in the 2012 finals?
Yeah.
I was like in my head, there was no possible way that Federer was losing that match. Like as a Federer fan, like you were never scared of Murray because he was never going to beat you. The only way Federer was going to lose is if Fed just didn't have a good game, and then Murray like just wore him down.
But then again, it was so good, refreshing to see when he gets all that criticism. Murray, he would actually come out the next tournament super aggressive, and then you'd see, and you saw him in the Olympics in that same year. He beat Federer straight sets.
Which I still don't know how that happened.
That's the difference. That's the difference between like a Murray when he actually goes for it, or if he plays percent. And that's what I think, that if he had just gone for it that little bit more, he just didn't have the mental side of his game. I think he had so many games where there was one point defined his whole entire match. I remembered so many matches where he'd have an easy volley and he'd like smash it out or something, and then the whole match fell away after like a set all or two sets. He was never 2 sets up, but like 2-1 or something like. It just that mental side of his game wasn't in comparison to Djokovic. Djokovic is so much stronger mentally. Maybe it's because of the support side. Djokovic is always fighting against everybody.
But I don't think we can be too harsh on Murray. Like, to be fair, in like the world of tennis, there's always the mental aspect for all players to deal with, aside from the ability on court. And what we've seen over the last however long is there's only 3 players who are able to deal with the physical element and the mental element, and that's going to be Djokovic, Federer, Nadal. Yeah. So it's like, as much as Murray maybe has not won as many Grand Slams as maybe you should have, or won as many ATP finals is what he should have been doing. He's still an incredible player. What he's achieved in his career is pretty remarkable. But it's just a case of like the other three are just so good. And we're in an era now. We've just got to be grateful, man. We're in an era with three players who are in next level. And we're able to watch all three of them. And all three of them are pushing each other on.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
It is amazing. And we should be like literally so grateful to the tennis gods. Like I was saying that even at last year's Wimbledon when Federer and Djokovic played, like as a Federer fan, I was like nervous the night before. I was like, because Federer beat Nadal, which I was like so stoked on. That was to me arguably the match of the tournament. Like that was such high quality.
I agree. It was an incredible match.
Federer, I was like, to me in my mind, I was like, if Federer beats Djokovic, the whole GOAT debate's over. Because then at 38 years old, he just beat the two other guys. Like it's not even close. And then he had match point, and then he loses. I can't even talk about it. I'm gonna get emotional. Like, I was just thinking, I was like,
and then Djokovic 7 points in a row.
We're grateful to be even able to watch this match. Like I'm watching Djokovic and Federer play, just slap the ball around. Like it's so much better than every other type of match. Like compare Federer and Djokovic, watching them on like a Grand Slam final to like watching like I don't know, like Fognini versus Monfils on like a side court. It's like Fognini Monfils would be like a lot of other times in tennis history, but right now we're like watching Federer and Djokovic, which is just you can't even like imagine a better level of tennis. You know what I mean?
No. That's what I said to you actually on one of the last pods. Because we were sort of saying like it's keep on coming up the greatest of all time. I said the one thing that these three players have got, which maybe players from the past didn't have, is the game's accelerating at such a rate these days that all the new players that keep coming through, they're better than the ones before. And they raise their game another level again. When the next one comes, then they're still there. Like, how do you knock them off the top? Like, you
can't push them off. If you look at the Grand Slams, I forget now, for the last however many years, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's the same names all the time. You just see Djokovic, Nadal, Federer. They win everything, all the slams.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, and if you beat one of them, like guys will beat one of them, and then they're just not going to get through the next one. Like I just did a video, kind of going through a lot of like the best matches in history that some of my fans have like thought about. And we watched Michael Chang. He's an American guy.
I watched it earlier. It was a decent roundup of these matches. Yeah, go on though. Anyway.
Cheers. Yeah, no. But Michael Chang beat Yvonne Lendl. That was the fourth round of the French Open, right? Yeah. And we've seen that before. Like Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer have all lost early or in like quarterfinals to guys they probably shouldn't have in the last 10 years. But then that guy will go on and lose the next match basically 100% of the time to either whoever, you know what I mean? Like
the remaining one.
Chang beat Lendl and then went on and won the whole tournament, which is like, so the only other guy that I've seen do that is like Juan Martín del Potro in this time. He beat Nadal in the semifinals of the US Open. He crushed him, and then he barely beat Federer. But like that never happens at 1-2 punch. So we see Dominic Thiem beats Nadal and then Zverev at the Australian Open this year, and then just can't get it done versus Djokovic. Like he was right there. He probably should have, but like it's just.
I think the only person I've seen do it in recent time is Stan Wawrinka in the Australian Open. I think he beat. I'm not sure what order. I think it was Federer and Nadal. Was it
at the Australian Open? Yeah, I gotta look that up. I think it might have been. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, but I'm pretty sure he beat two of them, and it was pretty impressive the way he played. But he had that backhand down the line
on another kind of like he's like its own. Like a couple of years ago, he kind of separated himself into his own little category of contenders that was actually legit, you know, like he was like everyone else was a pretender. And then it was like the guys that can challenge the big three are Murray and now Wawrinka. And
even Wawrinka came out and he said he didn't even think that he should be mentioned in the same word as Murray. Like, because Murray is he had a few weeks at number one and that type of thing. So he just said he was just, I think Wawrinka just has that type of game. If he's on, he's on. Like you struggle to get that backhand back ever. It's a piston.
Yeah, it is insane. I just watched the 2015 French Open where he beat Djokovic in the final, and that's he has that game that I think he can just hit big for so long.
Exactly.
It's almost like it's not better than Federer against Djokovic and Nadal, but it's like Nadal and Djokovic don't have as many answers to Wawrinka when I feel like they can frustrate Federer more in a sense. But I mean, Federer's beaten them both like a ton of times, so it doesn't really.
Another like similar case, I know from what you were saying earlier, was people who struggle to tackle one of the big ones and then not the other one. Robin Soderling when he took out Nadal in the French, and then he obviously came up against Federer, just got creamed that straight set.
Yeah, it's true. He took out Nadal, and it's like, and then he made it to the French Open the next year as well, I think, and lost or he beat Federer the next year, and then he lost to Nadal, I think. So yeah, it's like you can beat one guy, and then it just takes all your energy, and then I feel like it just starts getting into your head. You're like, holy crap, I get beat Nadal on clay. I'm gonna win this, and then Federer's like also has his own thing of like, that's his first French Open. That was his whole thing.
I think that's the beautiful thing about tennis, though, is that even any of these players who are inside the top, say 150 or something, if they have the game of their life on that day, they can beat the top 3 players. And isn't it? Like, what about Rosal versus Nadal at Wimbledon? Yeah. I mean, that was one of the ones that I was like, there was the World Cup, I think, was on at the same time, and I was like, I don't even care about the World Cup right now. This match is not going off. I think it was something crazy like Germany versus Holland was playing. I was like, that match means nothing to me right now. I'm watching something historical here. Like everything he hit just literally went in at about 1,000 miles an hour, and you're like, I can't even believe what I'm seeing. Rosal just decimated Nadal.
Yeah,
I've just sat back from this conversation. I'm listening in, and I just miss tennis, man. I miss tennis so much.
Yeah, it's true.
Like just listening to this now. I'm having a few beers.
We'll be back, boys.
Yeah, no, I just literally just listening, just sitting back, having a cold beer. I'm listening to this. Man, I miss tennis so much. I miss it. I want to see events. I want to see these slams. I want to see. 2020 was our year to see all these amazing like up and coming players coming through. On the clay court, we had Seyboth Wild, all these other players, and in the hard. There's all these amazing players just wanted to see.
It's got to Seyboth Wild as well. Apparently, he's come down with coronavirus.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, apparently so. Today announced. So yeah. Man,
Prince. Right, I'm sure he'll be all right. Like I heard that it's. I mean, yeah, we don't have to talk about coronavirus too much, but yeah, what I thought about him was, I think you guys talked about him or someone else. Like he played that guy. Davidovich Fokina or something in the clay court swing. It's like the most wild names.
Yeah.
And then I watched that, and then they got into it too. They had like an argument about something. As like,
I saw that.
Amazing match though. 2 amazing players. Love both.
I'm a big fan of Fokina as well. I love watching him play. Like I remember watching him in the tournament. What's it called? Do you know the one where it's like the young tournament?
The ATP Next Gen Finals.
Gen Finals, yeah. He was playing in that, and it was just incredible, man. I really enjoyed that. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a bit stupid, like the system in scoring. Was it first to 4?
There's no juices there.
I don't really understand. First to 4 sets? What is that? But
it was first to 4 games, wasn't it? But no juices.
It's they're trying to make tennis more like easy to watch for fans who aren't really into tennis, so they want to make the matches shorter, basically.
I don't think they should do that, man. Because I love tennis as it is. I don't think they should mess around with the way tennis should be played, personally. But that's just maybe my opinion.
I love capitalism and all, but like the one downside is they always have to grow and make more money and get bigger, and they're trying to make tennis like keep growing. But I feel like it's almost maxed out. It's like not maxed out. It'll keep organically growing, but they're trying to make it shorter so it can be more advertiser friendly and more like viewer friendly. But if you change the format of like the Grand Slams, for example, like you could never compare it to the history books then. Like it would be
I agree thing. Exactly, and that's really important to have that. But on the topic of younger players coming through, I'm quite happy we've got the slice on actually, because I would like to talk about some younger Canadian players.
Oh,
because there's a few of them coming through at the moment, and they're looking very promising. So I want to see what your outtake on how far they can go. So the ones I want to talk about is obviously Felix, Shapovalov, and Raonic. Maybe he's a bit older. Obviously, he's done more, but they've all got that wow factor in terms of like watching them play. I find them all exciting. Yeah. They're very talented on a lot of different surfaces. Arguably more probably hard or grass. Would you say?
I'd say.
Any of them? But yeah, so I just want to know, what's your thoughts on them and how far do you reckon they can go?
Yeah, like, well, Raonic for us in Canada was like the first male to like be good in singles, basically. I don't think in the history books there was anyone else inside the top 50. I might be wrong, but there's this guy Daniel Nestor who's a really good doubles player. He won like a ton of majors, like Grand Slams in doubles. But as we all know, doubles doesn't really count. So in singles, Raonic like was the man, right? And then he made it to the Wimbledon final in 2016, beat Federer, which was sad. But I'm such a Federer fan that I was cheering for Federer when Raonic was playing him.
Oh wow!
Tell him that.
Really loved Raonic's game back then, but he's gotten a lot better now. Like he used to have no backhand at all, and he was just slice stuff, and it was just hard to watch. But like he kind of changed the game, showing that like in Canada we have this mentality. I guess it would be like something like Ireland or Scotland. Like you have this kind of like small hometown mentality where Canada compared to the States, you feel like if you're good in Canada, it's like, oh, you're only good in Canada. Like, wait till you compare yourself to the States. But now it's like the men's side of tennis, we are definitely better than the States with our men's, like currently, you know what I mean? So it's like we got 3 top, in reality, they're top 20 guys probably now.
Yeah.
And the States doesn't really have anyone that I would say is that promising.
Jack Sock's coming back.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a long way back.
I'm not a fan of Socky, mate.
I saw him in Delray Beach. I was down there. I watched him win he beat Radu Albert, who's not necessarily like a tank, but
Jaron about him.
Sorry?
Ask Jaron about him. He's got some
Radu Albert? What's your thought?
Says he's gonna retire soon.
Nah, Radu Albert's, he's losing. No, I didn't say, mate. I was a bit dramatic maybe at the time. I just feel like Radu Albert at the moment, the way he's been playing, he's on a terrible streak. He's not won a game in 2020. He's playing incredibly bad tennis. People are putting it down to the fact that he's had an injury recently, lack of fitness. But I feel like he's coming kind of to the end of it. I just don't see him offering much. Being a top 100 player, he's in the top 100. I just see him dropping out, and I'm going to feel like there's younger players who have more energy. And they're able to be. I feel like he's going to be replaced. That's just my view on it. And I was quite vocal at the time, but that's maybe because I had a bet on Radu Albert to win that match. So,
well, to be honest, how much did you guys hear of Radu Albert before like last year? Like he's like a guy. He's a journeyman. He's older.
Yeah, he's journeyman. That's
he has
perfect
no weapons, right? Like you can't be a top guy if you have 0 weapons. Like I remember at last year's Miami Open, he almost beat Federer, which is like an act of God. I don't know. Federer must have just been like literally like he must have been sobering up or something. He must have had a hangover. But Radu Albert just hung around. He plays good. He's a great tennis player, but like you just need weapons these days. So going back to the Canadian players, like Milos Raonic obviously had these insane weapons. So he kind of showed that you can be he was top 3 in the world as a Canadian. So that kind of broke open the doors for us. And I feel like I got a lot of Canadian younger people into tennis. Because as you know, it's like cold as hell here in the winter, so you can't play tennis outdoors all year round. So it's not one of our bigger sports. It's like way down the list. But basically, so he paved the way for Canadians, and then with Dennis, he was like the next guy. He beat Nadal, I think, at the 2017 Rogers Cup, and that was epic. Like everyone lost their minds, and he's got like serious weapons. And like I think if you watch Shapovalov play, you go, his game is just he's got unlimited potential.
What did you think of when he hit the umpire in the face with the tennis ball?
Yeah, that's the first thing I ever saw from him, and I was like, I covered that, and I just go, dude, this guy's like, his backhand's a bit whack. He's a spaz, obviously. I said I felt bad for him because I was like, that's something that I would do. Like, I would get pissed and hit a ball like that, and just so unlucky.
I think that type of thing, though, when we go back to like the Kyle Edmund type thing, that type of thing puts you on the map more. It's like, even though it was bad, people know who you are now. Like you've smashed an umpire in the face.
You'd be like, oh, look at this bender who hit an umpire, but he's got a nice 40, so I'll pay some attention.
He still won the match. Oh no, he got disqualified in that one.
Yeah, he did. I think he was playing Dan Evans in that match.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, who was that other one I saw the other day? There was, it wasn't the other day, but it was just the highlights because obviously we can't watch any tennis. There was that guy who ran up and went to kick the boards, but then he kicked the line judge.
Yeah, that was David Nalbandian. That guy's a legend as well. I think he's the greatest player to never win a major of all time.
Interesting.
He had a couple of finals, didn't he, at Wimbledon?
I think so. Yeah, he was nice, man. He had a nice backhand, 2-hander.
Yeah.
big Argentinian boss. You never know. I don't know. Some of these guys like to really party and never put too much effort in. I feel like he might have been one of those guys.
I think he might have been in like the most memorable. Well, I don't know if it's for you the most memorable Wimbledon final. I think it was it not him versus Ivanisevic in the final? I don't know why I think that was the final.
I don't know. Maybe it was.
I need to check it now. I have to fact check
Yeah.
it. So, but that for me, that was my best ever. Like, I don't know why. Like, I didn't even.
I think that's only a personal one for you because there's only one winner of the best Wimbledon final.
Yeah, but I'm
Nadal.
talking about the best story related to winning Wimbledon is a guy who came from a wild card to win Wimbledon. That's ridiculous. Goran Ivanisevic. He just came like he used to be. He was like playing, but then he was out the game for a long time, and then he came back and then came as a wild card and then won the whole tournament. That's ridiculous.
That's pretty impressive.
I actually didn't really know about that,
mate. But watch the whole tournament if you can. It's just a crazy story. Like Ivanisevic, obviously like one of the most respected players. He was in the top 10, I think, when he was at the top of his game.
Yeah.
He was just like in the latter part of his career, just about to retire, and then wins Wimbledon from a wild card. And it was just like one of those fairy tale, like it was like Leicester winning the Premier League. It was like that big a deal at that time.
Mate, I can tell you're definitely in quarantine though. You've got a lot of time on your hands to be watching all these old highlight videos.
Yeah, you got a lot of time in your hands when you're back there watching the David Nalbandian highlight reel.
No, he's definitely watching. He just typed in YouTube tennis fouls. That's what he's done.
Yeah, actually.
I just wanted to make sure it was him who was playing in the final. Ivanisevic.
Yeah. No, I've been watching a lot of old matches too. Like I don't know, just like random ones. Like I watched Federer versus Roddick in the 2009 Wimbledon final.
It was Pat Rafter who was playing in the final.
Oh god.
Couldn't be.
Pat Rafter's a bit of a wanker. I heard. He's like I saw him. He was down at Delray Beach when I was there, and he's like. I was watching him, so me and Beckett are sitting there, like basically courtside, and I think Pat Rafter. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Pat Cash.
Oh no. Pat
Cash is a wanker, I think. I've heard. Rafter's all right. He's sound. I'm like, is that what you guys say over in Britain? Sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say sound.
But this final though, if you didn't know about it. He won 9-7 in the 5th set. Come on, like for an epic end to the epic fairy tale, for him to win Ivanisevic to win the Wimbledon final.
Yeah, Nadal in 2008, he beat Federer 9-7 in the
wild card though, was he?
Yeah, mate, that final was incredible. I'm sorry, you got to be honest. The real tennis fans will all agree with me in the comments. The best final ever was Nadal Federer 2008. And if anyone disagrees, I don't know, they're watching the wrong sport.
I agree. I have to agree.
It's one of the. Well, you had it on your last show.
Sorry?
You had that one as the first one on your last show. So
it's because it's kind of like the most obvious one. I feel like it's like most people talk about it, but that match is hard for me to watch because Federer lost. But it's like it's also the only thing the thing I've watched most from that match was like the 4th set tiebreaker because that was kind of like the highest quality of that match and it was so epic. Like right at the end of that, like Nadal passed Federer with this insane passing shot up the line to like set up championship point, and then on championship point, Federer like saves it with an insane passing shot up the line again. Like
I don't want to be like controversial, but when the tennis was in those finals between Nadal and Federer, I don't think I've ever seen better tennis between two players ever.
I don't think that's controversial at all.
No, but I know that people will probably be like Djokovic has been better in this and just blah blah blah.
No, the reason he says it's so controversial is because in our comment section we have a lot of Djokovic fans and we get a lot of hate. If we say anything positive about Federer or Nadal, we get called Fed-tards. We get called all sorts.
Dude, hey, this is a message to all the Djokovic fans. You need to relax, okay? You guys are gonna be okay. Djokovic is gonna get his respect. I don't know if he'll ever be the GOAT. I can't tell you that, but they are so butthurt whenever we talk about Federer or Nadal. And you know why it is? It's because it's like the kind of like the abused puppy syndrome. It's like for Djokovic's entire career, no matter what he's done, he's always been playing like second fiddle to these other guys, which makes sense because they've always been ahead of him with Grand Slam counts and just kind of like anything he's done, they've already done, right? Like Djokovic is at 17 slams, and I'm not going to celebrate 17 slams like I did when Federer won 17 slams back in 2012. Like he won it 8 years ago. So it's not as amazing. If Djokovic goes and wins 21 slams and he's the only guy to do it, then I'll be like, holy crap, that's amazing. But
so for you personally,
they're very sensitive right now for some reason. It's I get a lot of hate. I've been getting a lot of hate from them.
I know, so do we. But like for you personally, I know you love Federer, but if you was to see, say, Djokovic or maybe even Nadal, it's not too far off either. It's only one away from Federer right now.
Yeah.
If you saw one of them two guys overtake Federer, would you then sort of change your opinion on who is the greatest of all time?
No, that's my short answer. But what I think about this is like 3 years ago, before I started the Slice 2017 Australian Open, and as we know, that's when Federer came back and won it, and it was like for Federer fans, it was amazing. And then he went on, dominated Nadal that entire year, won 2 more slams. So at that point, I was basically like, hey, it seems like we're gonna be able to relax and just talk about Federer as the GOAT of all time. Like it's over. And then they kind of snuck back in. So now my opinion is it'll never be over, the debate. It'll be like kind of like Michael, like for basketball terms or even soccer terms. Like I don't think in soccer for you guys there's one guy who's like undoubtedly the GOAT, right?
No, you've got two. It's mainly like Ronaldo, and Lionel Messi.
And then like the old guys might say like Pele or something, or like I don't know. But like there's always and then basketball it's like Michael Jordan's kind of like the GOAT. But then people will say LeBron because he's newer. Yeah. And it's all the young fans saying LeBron. It's all the old fans saying Michael Jordan. So for me, it's always going to be a debate now. But to me, I don't think you could ever take the GOAT status away from Federer because of how much he changed the game, like how much he advanced the stakes. Like he took it from 14 slams was the record when he was playing to 20. And I feel like there's no way that Djokovic is going to take it from like 20 to 26, which would be like the same distance. And then also, he was at number 1 for so much longer than anyone's ever been. And then the thing that no one talks about is how much influence he has in the world. Like he is worth like 3 times as much as Nadal or Djokovic as far as endorsements right now. And he's 38 years old. It makes no sense. But he's like, that's how much more kind of like, I don't know, just influence he has in the tennis world. And I think everyone knows that. And they're just denying it when they say like how could you say that Djokovic is the GOAT right now? I just don't. How could you have any argument for that?
I think the key to like that sort of discussion is his age at the moment. He's still making Grand Slam semis, Grand Slam finals. If we see when Djokovic gets to his age, is he still making those finals? Is he still making the semi-finals, or is he falling out of the 4th round, or is he? That'll be the interesting thing to see because we don't know. Because everyone's saying that Djokovic, well, all the Djokovic fans are saying, oh, he's the GOAT because he's beating Nadal and Federer at this period. But he's not beating Federer 10 years ago in as convincing fashion as he is now because Federer is a bit older. So it's always a subjective. It's everything.
That's what I mean. It's always going to be an argument. Like so people say that Federer won his first slams in the weak era theory, which I think is total BS. I'm gonna make a video on this one day and go back and look at all these players, but you could always say that, right? We could say that right now it's a weak era except for Federer and Nadal. Like outside of those guys, who's good right now? Like you can't compare that to another era. It's basically impossible to do. But like Federer, until I don't know, he was at a certain age, had a winning head-to-head against Djokovic, probably until he was about 34. I haven't actually looked it up, but like for a long time he had the obvious head-to-head winning record because he was older and Djokovic was younger. So that's the argument. So now it flips the other way. Now it's Federer's older. To me, I go, Djokovic fans, are you that confident in last year's Wimbledon win? Federer's 38. Your guy's still in his prime, and Federer had match points. You're like so confident. Like that was such a good win for you guys. Like you basically lost the match, and then he like.
But how much times has Djokovic been in that situation? He still pulls it out. I don't know how it's possible. How does he get that mental edge over everyone? It's weird.
Well, yeah, I think with Federer and Djokovic, it's Federer's going for winners and trying to hit lines, and Djokovic is keeping the ball in play. It's
Murray one.
It's not even a debate. It's just easier to play tennis that way, to just keep it in the court. Like it is. Like if you play tennis, it is. It's just easier. I'm not saying it's easy. Like all credit to Djokovic for winning, but I don't know if he's necessarily the mental giant like compared to these other guys. I think they're all mental giants, and It's just the margins are so slim. So it comes down to like one shot here, one shot there.
I think, like you say, it's extremely fine margins. It's not really much. There's not loads in it. They're both. I would include Nadal. I feel like we need to talk about more Nadal. Nadal, like what he's achieved in the sport. People could say he's like a clay merchant. He's just someone. He's the king of clay. When you take him off clay, he's a good player, but he's not exactly the same as when he's on it. But for me, like he's able to, like in recent years, I was looking at statistics about his ace percentage on hard, and you'll be surprised to see that his ace percentage now, what he's playing right now, is the highest of his career on hard courts.
Right.
So it's like he's definitely transforming his game to be able to suit all surfaces, and he's able to win stuff like you've seen recently. Like he won the US Open last year, and I just think Nadal deserves a lot of respect in the sport of tennis, and it's not just because like me personally, he's my favorite player. So you've got Federer. I'm a big Nadal fan. I love watching Nadal. I think what he's done in the sport's incredible. And it's just amazing. Like I love watching him and his ability on court and his fight and desire to win every single ball. It's just something which is unrivaled to any other tennis player, in my opinion. But
Darren, follow on from what you were saying, like how good he has been on hard court. Like that was the most frustrating thing about this whole break is Nadal and Djokovic have just been playing out of their skin. Like I don't think I've seen Nadal playing this sort of tennis on hard court since he won that US Open last year, and he was literally creaming everybody in that last tournament. And Djokovic similar, like Tsitsipas in the final, no chance. And you've just got the two best players literally coming into the sunshine. And then it's cancelled.
I know.
No, that's what I'm saying. I completely agree. Like it would be perfect. Watching Nadal in Acapulco, it was incredible. Like the shots he played in the final, I think it was against Taylor Fritz. It was a brilliant match. And Nadal was playing incredible on hard. I really wanted to see Indian Wells, but at the end of the day, like I don't want to be too like selfish. And at the moment, people are in a crisis. Like there's a lot of people in very tricky situations right now. This virus is really affecting a lot of people. So I don't want to like look at it from a selfish perspective of tennis, because at the end of the day, sport is always going to come second to health. But it's still sad. It's still sad from a selfish perspective in a way that tennis is not being resumed, and it's just sad that we're missing all these amazing tournaments that were coming up.
Totally, like this is like arguably like the most exciting time of the year. Like after like the beginning part, right? Because we're all like psyched on it. And, like Djokovic was playing great. Nadal was playing great. With Federer being out, like. That put a bit of a damper on it for me, but like, to Indian Wells and Miami was gonna be so sick. And like you said, like the one thing like with Nadal, because I used to hate Nadal because I was a biased fan. Some people still say I'm biased, but I think I appreciate all three of these guys greatly. And with Nadal, I think he does deserve so much respect because I think he's got so much skill. And at the beginning, I didn't think he did because he just spun everything in. Especially against Federer. Like, if you watch those old matches, all Nadal did was just rip it to his backhand and then just wait for short balls. So I was just always so frustrated by that. It's like, what skill are you implementing there other than just, like, using your athleticism? But as he's gotten older, he's not as, like, powerful, or he's still pretty powerful, but he's not as, like, mobile, but he's adapted. Like, all three of them have. He's adapted to be able to be absolutely lethal on any surface. And at Wimbledon last year, the only guy he lost to, was Federer in the semifinals. The year before that, he lost to Djokovic in the semifinals. Super close. My point is, I got mega respect for all three of these guys. And when it comes to Nadal on a hard court, he's definitely gotten better for sure in all levels of that, like speeding up his game, kind of shortening points on the hard courts, because obviously his body can't handle it as much as it used to. But I still think when he plays Federer or Djokovic on faster surfaces, he hasn't improved much in those head-to-heads, but in general, he has.
What do you think of, apparently they're changing the surface of the US Open as well?
Yeah, I know that. I wonder what that's going to do, because if it quickens it up, it'll be a whole other ballgame. Because I've heard that the US Open's pretty slow, and that that's why Nadal's kind of had more success there. He's not Darren Cahill, who I think is like the best, like the most brilliant commentator. He said that it's a myth that Nadal's only better on slow court, but he's definitely better when it bounces high. So like you can have a faster court that bounces high, like the Roland Garros court. Yeah. So Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. Apparently, it's the same court as the Miami Open court, and I was down in Miami last year, and those courts were sick, I think. And Federer liked it because he won Miami, smashed everyone. So, maybe it'll be good for a little Fed comeback, number 21. Let's go. Maybe 22 at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really like it when they mess around with Grand Slam courts. Like you mentioned it earlier, Steve, and I feel like when you're comparing Grand Slams, I think it's good to keep everything the same. And I like the fact that they keep the courts the same. They keep the style of the tournament the same. And I think it's important for the integrity of the sport. But it's not really the end of the world. They're not exactly changing it to a clay court. They're just changing to the hard court.
If you like all of the courts staying the same, how do you feel about Hawkeye on clay court?
It's a good point, and I just feel like there's no point fixing something what's not broken.
Well, yeah, but do you want it on there or do you not want it on there?
This is such a tricky. I don't even. Listen, I change my mind daily on this debate. I'm not sure. I don't know if I want it or not. To be fair, I see perks to both. Right now, there's no clay, there's no Hawkeye on clay court, and it's not really seemed to trouble too much.
I think they have it, though, don't they? They have it for real. If they really can't make a decision, they still refer to Hawkeye, but the umpire's decision is still there as the first decision.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think they just have Hawkeye on clay court.
Maybe at just the French Open. I haven't seen clay court tennis since last year, but.
Yeah, from what we've been seeing, from everything since then, it just seems a little bit like they will bring it in, but it's only after the players don't trust the umpire. So
I hate to say, as much as I love Nadal, the moment Nadal has a call what goes against him on a Roland Garros and it has some impact on the match, the next year you do realize there'll be Hawkeye in the tournament. It's the power of players, and it's that's what's going to happen. So
sad. Just like this. Well, he had the time restrictions go against him with the whole serving and all that.
Yeah, but that's one of the changes that needed to be made. It's ridiculous to take down take that much time between points. Not just him, but a lot of players do that. Him and Djokovic, they're getting called for it. It's dude, the reason so Djokovic and Nadal's 2012 Australian Open final, the reason it was that long was because it was an epic match, but they both take so long between points. An hour of that time was taken up with them just picking the underwear out of their butt and waiting to go step up to the line. If that was Federer versus Kyrgios, they could have played all the points the exact same length, but the match probably would have taken 3.5 hours. So I can see why they.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point you make.
Very true. Do you know that Djokovic has never beaten Kyrgios?
Yeah, I did. 0-2. I went back and watched. They just posted highlights of that video. I think in Indian Wells 2017, and Djokovic was not a happy camper in that video.
Cue all Djokovic fans saying Djokovic should than this.
Djokovic.
Nah, come on, man. We can't put too much disrespect on Djokovic. He's in a ridiculous form as well himself, and he's definitely got a lot left in him. But whether he ever gets close to Nadal and Federer's Grand Slam titles, a lot of people are saying he's going to overtake them. That's the excitement of sport. Let's see what happens. But
I think it's just sad that there's no one really fighting his corner, though. There's people fighting Federer's corner, and there's people fighting Nadal's corner. But all of the people in the comments are fighting Djokovic, but there's no one actually on the actual physical media who really fights for Djokovic.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of the commentators. I feel like they're so up on Djokovic, and rightly so, because he's the best player in the world right now, probably. And but they've always, I feel like the commentators and news people like to be the first person to say something. They like to be the first guy who said that Djokovic is going to be the GOAT. So they'll always switch to that narrative. And then for example, I love Johnny McEnroe's always been, to me as a Federer fan, notoriously pro Nadal. When Nadal was going to take over Federer's record, back in 2011. And I was always dude, why are you so up on Nadal? He's I get that you like him, and he's a lefty just like you were, but are you just mad that Federer smashed all of your records first, so now you want someone to overtake them? Or like, it's weird, and I noticed all their bias, and I see they all, especially in the 2017 Australian Open, they're all like, Federer cannot hang with Nadal in these long rallies, and then he just did all match long and won, and they're all like, it was never that. It's just that Nadal played better and he just won. It's not that Federer was like unfit or like not able to like run for a long time. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Another topic what we should discuss before we wrap this all up.
Oh no, Bob.
Yeah.
What did you want to discuss?
The Olympics.
Oh, you wanted to bring that one up. I had another one before that.
I got a quick take on the Olympics. I think it's a perfect move. Next year is totally fine. Doesn't influence any of the players except for Federer. He might retire before then, but it's probably the right move.
I think it's perfect to get rid of the Olympics just in case we need to move Wimbledon a little bit back That's
the point I'm getting to. I feel like I don't know if we're going to be able to play any tennis by then, or tennis is going to be on. But
Wimbledon to August, I'm happy with that. Be a warmer.
It's true. That could be good. I hope they do it. Well, can they do it in August? We got Cincinnati and then the Rogers Cup.
Sod that. Yeah, just get rid of them.
Was there some American tennis? Get that out of here. It's like,
mate, Wimbledon should be like the pinnacle of the tennis season. If that has to be played, like this is the All England club where every tennis player when they were born dreamt of winning the Wimbledon championship. There was no other championship. They didn't grow up and they were like, Australian Open's the one that I dream of. No, they dreamt of winning Wimbledon in their pure whites. They were all in that centre court stadium, mate. That's
well, we know you're British, Ben.
You're
definitely flying the flag.
It has to happen. And
to be fair, I'd be devastated if we don't have Wimbledon. Wimbledon's like my highlight for the year, and I was really looking forward to it with the podcast going on, and just to really I feel like this year the Wimbledon would have been spectacular, like it is every year. But it's going to be really sad if Wimbledon can't be fit into 2020.
Bigger than any other year. If the French Open doesn't happen this year, Wimbledon will be huge. Imagine this is the first Grand Slam since Australian Open and since the coronavirus. So this would be the biggest tennis tournament like on the planet. Like there's no other tournaments. Imagine if there's no other small tournaments even before it. It's just literally nothing and Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
And all the people coming out of the coronavirus offseason, they'll be so amped and they'll be so excited. Like it'll just be like this.
The people, everyone will be just hugging. Everyone will just be.
Yeah, but something I want to add to that though. People are coming back obviously from this big break due to the coronavirus. Do you feel like the level of tennis is going to drop because of that? Because obviously people aren't able to train. They're not having the matches what they would do prior to preparation. Is it going to affect the level of tennis?
Federer is going to win Wimbledon.
Federer?
Yeah, I think that benefits Federer.
He's going to walk back in, slap everyone around because he's more talented, and he's just, he probably will win.
No one's played any tournaments yet.
I hate to say, I feel like Federer's the one who's able to probably adapt to a break better than anyone else, and I feel like in Wimbledon as well, that is his tournament. That is what he wants to win more than anything else.
Benefit his old legs, if anything.
True, it's true, and they're all I think all these guys are still training. Like they can still have them and their coach on the court. You think?
I don't think so. To be honest, not in Europe.
Same. It's not match practice.
I feel like they are. I feel like you're right. They are training to a certain level, but some of the tweets and stuff I've been following, a lot of them are just locked in their house.
Yeah.
Certain countries where they're they're in lockdown, so they're not really allowed out their house, and if they're given us a proper reason.
Yeah.
I don't feel like playing tennis is going to be justifiable
unless you've got a home.
I saw Zverev, Alexander Zverev. I think he's in Florida right now, and it looked like he was training. But I think a lot. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of these guys might just be like Fabio.
I feel like they're training in the gym, they're doing stuff like that, but it's not quite the same as tournament practice.
Probably just a few beers. They're just they're just getting a bit chubby, mate.
I'll tell you someone who's definitely not training right now. I'll tell you someone who's definitely not training on that. That's Benoit Paire. He's on a beach. He's got a few beers. He's just chilling out. He's isolated from the rest of the world.
Dan had been on the old video chat. I was watching him yesterday on the video chat. He's got a few funny hats, isn't he, old Benoit Paire? He's got a strong beard game at the moment. A bit jealous. I've lost beard at the minute.
Yeah, I don't have any. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, me and Stephen can't really relate. We don't really get one.
Can't do it.
This is my maximum.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow, it's really coming on.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you what you thought about that Nadal's plan had been backed to freeze the rankings. I think they were going to put it back to like the 2-year ranking. Like they were going to drop it back. So we've got the rankings points from the year before as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't looked too much into that, but I feel like that's, I don't know. To me, like the rankings is just going to be messed up no matter what. Like they do, it's just screwed right now. Like I mean, if this only goes on like a month, which is probably very hopeful, like then I feel like they should just lose points and then we'll just make them up next year. But is that official that they're taking points from the year before now?
No, it's official that they've frozen the rankings. What they've done, they've frozen the rankings, so no one's going to be dropping points in this period during coronavirus. Which in theory, yeah, but I don't know if you would like it because Djokovic is number 1 right now. Yeah. So as long as this goes on and the weeks progress, he's getting closer and closer to Federer's record of most weeks at number 1.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you have to freeze that as well. That record can't count. Like these weeks cannot count in his like total.
Unfortunately, I feel like it is counting, and that's what the whole the dilemma is. Like people are arguing about whether it should count. And I think right now it is counting towards
no way you can count these weeks. Like if Federer had these weeks, you know that all the Djokovic fans would be like, "There's no way those count. There's no way those count." So like, it's like they might actually count. Who knows? The ATP is going to be the one who decides if they actually count in the record books. I mean, this record doesn't really matter that much, anyways. But like, for weeks at number 1, fans will always see that as like a illegitimate thing. I feel like now, which sucks because.
No, I think you've got a fair point as well. Like, I don't think it should count because at the end of the day, like, you've got to be playing tennis to be number 1 in terms of like you've got to be able to remain at that title by keep winning matches and being able to maintain that level. So yeah, it's a fair point you make. To be fair.
And like it sucks. Like I don't want the French Open to be canceled. I don't want Wimbledon to be canceled because I want them to have the opportunity to beat Federer's slam record because if there's just no slams happening, that sucks. And like they got to figure out a way for them to happen.
Yeah, because then you're always going to have the people arguing, saying the reason Nadal never caught Federer was because of the coronavirus and we missed that whole year slam. And Federer, and Nadal would have definitely won the French Open, so that means he's missing out on one slam. And then you're going to have people saying about different arguments here. There's always going to be, when there's no tournaments played, there's always going to be an excuse for people to have a reason why, an excuse as per se.
Totally. Yeah.
Do you think they're going to? Did you think, like I've read in a couple of places that some players think that that Federer is only going to play one of the tournaments and Nadal is only going to play one of the tournaments. Some players say they're going to play both of the tournaments. What do you think on that?
So you suppose are you talking about the U.S. Open and the French Open?
Yeah. What do you think that players are actually going to boycott one of the tour? Because some people are saying Federer is going to miss one just to play the hard court, or they're going to say Nadal is going to miss just the hard court to play just the French.
Yeah, before Stephen answers that, the thing was weird. Is like the Laver Cup's in place of French Open, so like Federer's not going to miss the Laver Cup.
Yeah, I feel like they'll either move the Laver Cup, or I feel like the French Open still might move again because like I think the rest of the tennis like officials are kind of pissed at the French Open for just moving it without asking, and then like I feel like if they push Wimbledon back and then have French Open right before it, it's I don't know, or it stays that way, they'll move the Laver Cup, I feel like. And they should move the Laver Cup. Like, I don't know. It's like, you got to go. I don't know if Federer will show up to the French Open still. Like, he probably won't, but because he doesn't show up anyways. And when he does, he just walks on there and he makes the semifinals like it's no big deal. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like if that is the case, it's U.S. Open and then French Open. I think Nadal might not play the U.S. Open. And then there'll be some guys who pick and choose for sure.
Which is crazy because he's the reigning champion of the US Open.
Yeah, he can't not do that. Boo.
Yeah, I'd be going.
I'm not sure if they'll allow that, right? Like, if you're the reigning champion, you're fully fit. Like, the US Open may have a bit of a problem.
It's first as well. You've got to play the tournaments that are coming up. You can't just boycott the tournament. This is first up. Like, you haven't played tennis for ages.
Nah, but I kind of agree with Stephen. I don't think the schedule we're looking at right now is going to be the schedule. What's going to be happening? Like they've got to move. I feel like they've got to move some stuff around to like rejig it to make sense. Because right now it's like the French Open have been a bit arrogant and said we're taking these dates here. Well, it's like it doesn't really work. Like, they just picked a random date on the calendar.
We're going to end up with Wimbledon being played, then the US Open the next week, and then French Open the week after US Open or something. Then who's going to pick which tournament?
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
I'm going to be bemused about it. It's like, it's such a weird time for tennis. Like, I don't have a clue actually what's going to happen, which is just bizarre. Like, maybe we should just keep our ear to Twitter, because that's the only place where actually anyone finds out anything.
I think no one knows, and we're all just speculating. But to be fair, we've done an hour now. I feel like we should just wrap this podcast up. If anyone's still listening, thank you so much. I don't know how you've managed it.
Made it through to the end.
You've made it to the end. Thank you so much for listening, and a big shout out right now to Slice Tennis Stephen. He's been incredible. He's shared his insight. He's a very knowledgeable guy, and obviously
make sure you subscribe to Slice Tennis News, and promote whatever other stuff you've got on your channel, mate. Yeah, just pop it out there so everyone knows what they're subscribing. We'll pop the links in the description below.
For sure, yeah. And thank you guys for having me on. I'm going to promote this to my fans and like to our audience, and we're all in this together. Yeah, on the Slice, we do the news of what's happening when tennis is happening. We'll be talking about it whenever that starts again. But then we also have a new show about tennis sneakers for all you sneakerheads out there called Heat on the Feet. And we do a vlog where we travel around. And then I'm also here at the desk just talking about tennis all the time. So, sorry, I don't know if you guys curse in your podcast. But, it's we have fun here. So, join along.
Yeah, no, great. Honestly, I've really enjoyed it. Hopefully, you've enjoyed it out there listening. Make sure to leave a comment, tell us your thoughts, like the video, obviously, subscribe, check out the Slice. We'll leave all these details below, and honestly, he's a brilliant channel, so do check it out. And I guess until next time, thanks for listening. Any last words, Ben?
Guys, thanks for having me on. If Wimbledon happens, maybe in the future I'll be out in England. We'll definitely have to do a live on the scenes video together.
Yeah, great. Oh, we'd love that, man.
Look forward to it.
Anyway, see you guys.
Have a good one.
Peace.
For now.
Bye.
See ya.